This is a COVID story about my mom and I. So after we were hit with COVID and we were quarantined, my mother quarantined on the shoreline in Connecticut, and I being quarantined here in Southborough, Massachusetts. I realized I wouldn't possibly see my mother for a while. And as a few months went by, it got very frustrating because I felt really lost without seeing her face and being able to hug her. And so I got the idea that we should do a FaceTime painting night. And I never thought it would go on for very long because who knew how long the pandemic was going to last. But about a year ago, we started having Tuesday night painting sessions, and every Tuesday at 7:30, we'd get on FaceTime, and sometimes I'd set up a still life and put my camera to it so she could paint the same thing I was painting. Sometimes we would do different things. And, it became a regular thing that we did every single week. And it was very special because we got to spend about 3 hours with each other, just talking. And she would tell me stories that I'd never heard before. She's 83 years old and she lives alone, and she had this opportunity to tell me things she had never thought of telling me before. And one night she got up to go pour water in the sink from her paint jar, and she fell down. She fell on the floor. So I was still on FaceTime on the dining room table, and I saw her fall and heard her kind of crying on the floor. And I was very panicked. I asked her if she was hurt, and she just kept crying. And then I just started seeing her arm waving on the edge of the table. So she's on the floor, but her arm is raised up and she's waving it. And I said, "Mom, why are you waving your arm?" And she said, "Because my Apple Watch is set to call an ambulance if I fall. So I need to wave my arm so that it doesn't call an ambulance." And I said, "Mom, maybe we need to call an ambulance." She said, "Oh no, we're not going to call an ambulance. I'm going to call Mark." So Mark lives across the street. He's a family friend for 40 years. And so I now hear her on the floor calling Mark, and then back up, her arm starts waving again. And in a few minutes, Mark comes in a mask, and my mother gives him instructions. She says, "Mark, go get a plastic garbage bag." And of course, I have no idea what's going on. So Mark does as she asks. "Bring it over here, and I'm going to sit on it, and you're going to pull me across the floor to the railing by the door, and I'll be able to pull myself up from there." So I watch from the dining room table over FaceTime as Mark, in fact, gets a plastic garbage bag. My mother rolls onto it. He pulls her across the floor. And within a few minutes, Mark comes over to the FaceTime iPad and says, "Nice to see you, Catherine." And I said, "Nice to see you, Mark." And my mother sat down as if nothing had happened and started painting again. And that's the end.